All right, let's take a look at this problem. Mr. Delgado is going to plant a garden in his backyard. The garden will be 9 feet wide and 10 feet long. 1/3 of the garden will be for planting onions. In 3/5 of the remaining part of the garden, he will plant tomatoes. In the rest of the garden, he will plant jalapenos. What fraction of the garden will Mr. Delgado plant jalapenos? Okay, well, first I'm going to start off by drawing the garden. Now, it says 9 feet wide by 10 feet long, so I know it's a rectangle. So I'm just going to make a rectangle. And if I want to know the fraction of the garden, I don't really have to worry about the dimensions right now. So I'm just going to focus on the fraction part. It says here that 1/3 of the garden will be for planting onions. So that's easy to draw on your diagram here. So we're going to cut the garden into thirds. And we know that this section is going to be onions. All right. And I'll go ahead and color that. Let's say that this is the section for onions. All right. Now it says 3/5 of the remaining part of the garden. Okay, so what does 3/5 of the remaining part of the garden mean? Well, this section here, after I plant the onions, is the remaining part of the garden. And I'm supposed to take 3/5 of this section. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it into fifths going in this direction. So you're going to say there's 1 full section, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can see the sections are... Now I'm going to take 3 of these sections, because it's 3/5, and those are going to be for the tomatoes. So that's going to be this right here. It's going to be this 1/5, and this one, and this one. So this will be for tomatoes. Now, after we've planted the onions and the tomatoes, then we have the rest of the garden. So I'm going to call this part the rest of it. So it's the part that's not blue and not red. So this will be the rest, and the rest is going to be jalapenos. Well, if I want to know what fraction that turns out to be, I have to know how many equal parts there are in this diagram. So right now I have one big blue part, which is my onions, and then I have all these 10 other smaller parts, which are all the same size, for the tomatoes and the jalapenos. If I made them all the same size, I can cut up the onions into the same size sections, like this. And now I'll be able to determine what each of these smaller parts are. I can see that 15 of them fit inside the whole garden, so each one of these will be 1/15 of the garden. And I can see that it says that this whole section has 4 of these sections, so the jalapenos will be 4/15 of the garden. Okay, let's see. Jalapenos will be 4. Now let's look at the second question. How many square feet is the section for planting tomatoes? Okay, well, our diagram shows us what fraction of the garden is for planting the tomatoes, but it doesn't show us how many square feet that section will be. So now we need to go back to our measurements here. We have 9 feet. It's 9 feet wide, and it's 10 feet long for the whole garden. Well, if I multiply the length times the width, 10 times 9, I'll find the area for the entire garden, which is the whole thing, and that would equal 90. But the section for tomatoes is only this portion of that 90. But I can see that the 90 is cut up into 15 equally sized pieces. So if I divide 90 by 15 equal parts, 90 divided by 15 would equal 6. That means that each part would have 6 square feet in it. And then if I concentrate just on the tomatoes, then all I would need to do is I could see that from the tomato section there is 6 sixes. So that would be 6 times 6 feet, which equals 36 square feet. So and that's it.